whenever we post anything about walking through his use of pornography within our marriage and how we overcame that and how we worked through the issues that it caused within our marriage, we always get comments. And so today we're going to comment about a comment in case, you experience anything like this and like have the same type of questions if you come across any of our content. And so this particular comment said, I can't understand why people put this out for the world to see. Why are you, talking about what your husband has done, like his deepest secrets is what it was saying. And so like I'll go ahead and let you go.
Well, I was just thinking that we also had another comment that said like, this is a private thing to talk about.
Yeah.
And whenever I see things like this, it makes me think like,
And real quick, what we shared was just our story. So like the reel was just walking through our story kind of from start to finish, which was we got married thinking that would fix the issue, that he would no longer have any issues with pornography because he used it since he was 13 years old. And so we were like, oh, well, when we get married, you'll
okay,
have me. We won't have the issue anymore. And that's that. You just quit and you'll be done. And so that was kind of what this specific reel was about. And so people have such an issue with sharing that. And then so this is why we share about that.
And the biggest point is speaking specifically to those few points is that for decades, half a century, it has been kept under, just quiet about people looking at magazines, whatever. And that's where it started.
And then people saying, well, boys will be boys.
Yeah, and
this
now,
is what men do.
Yes, and now as technology's progressed, you have, what you can go find it in your pocket, okay? And so as technology progressed, it's gotten worse and worse, and no one talks about it. There are very, very few people that talk about it. Almost no churches do anything about it other than counseling, and it's not like they go search out people. People come to them because they have an issue.
One reason for that is because it's so normalized. Like our culture has normalized it so much.
Boys will be boys.
Yeah. And people are afraid to call out sin. Yeah. And so like we're not here to condemn people and to be like, well, we're calling out your sin and you're going to hell for this. But we are here to say that it's possible to recognize this is a sin and I don't want this in my life anymore and I don't want this in my marriage and I don't like the issues that it causes within my marriage and I'm going to figure out how to beat this. And it's not something that you can necessarily just stop and do on your own. And so that's why we want to let people know that it's normal to be struggling with this, especially if you're trying to quit and you're like, I tried and I can't. What's wrong with me?
Let's just define struggling real quick, because that's also something we get a lot of, is people like, it's not, a lot of people think it's okay, for one, which, if you are a Christian and you believe what the Bible says and you understand what Jesus says, you understand that it's not okay. Now, that being said, like whenever we're saying struggling, if you're not trying to stop, you're not necessarily struggling. What we're talking about is someone who is trying to stop, they've tried in the past and they have gone back to it. Yeah. They are struggling to stop. And so I did that. Mm-hmm. That was what we did. I stopped for a year, and I tried before I even knew Sierra, I tried to stop. And, it might last a week, month, something like that. And I'd go back to it. So what we're getting across to people, the point of this conversation and the conversations we have on our videos is to let people know that
you don't struggle alone.
Yeah, well, you're not alone.
Yeah.
There are other wives out there who feel the same way Sierra does. There are other men out there who felt the same way I did. Mm-hmm. I felt like the only issue we had in our marriage was my use of pornography. And because that was almost the only thing we argued about. Mm-hmm. And so through that, what we're getting across is that even though some of you guys don't feel like it's a problem or whatever, okay, that's fine. Get off our page, okay? But for the guys and girls out there who feel like it is, we're here for you. We want to help you. And that's why we make these videos, okay?
Right. Mm-hmm.
I mean...
Yeah. And so, people will judge you for sharing your story, just like they're judging us. We're just trying to put our story out there to help others, and then there's lots of people who are going to come against that, which we fully expect, because we are speaking against sin. We're speaking against what the devil loves to run, rampant in our culture, in our families, and it destroys marriages. And so the devil, are you thinking about something?
Yes, I am.
Like, what are you thinking about? You want to say it or
well,
not?
I mean, I'm just thinking about, like, the devil wants us. Okay, so it's like 46% of marriages, for one, that end in divorce, say that one of the spouses had an obsessive interest in pornography.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, again, that's not people who just watch. That is an obsessive interest in it.
Mm-hmm.
So these are people who have a really bad habit of it, or potentially, because you can have an addiction of pornography use. So that's what we're talking about. But that's only obsessive. That doesn't include everybody else. But one of the reasons why we get on here and talk about this too is because churches talk about it on Sunday morning sometimes in the pulpit, sometimes, where they just bring it up like, you shouldn't do this, okay. But they have nothing for the guys who have issues with it.
Only and the women who are struggling to stick with the husband, but also to manage their, cope with their own, anger and frustration and hurt and betrayal and all of that.
But you're talking about churches out there, only 7% of churches have anything already set up for someone who is going through issues with pornography. And so that's only for the people with issues. That, again, that doesn't include the spouses that are having to deal with it every day.
Yeah.
Okay? And then on top of that being said, 7% of churches, 64% of church-going men regularly watch pornography.
Yeah.
And 50% of pastors. Now, you can go on the internet, you can find these statistics, but these are real, and so that's why we're talking about it. This can't be something that's private anymore, because there's so many people having these issues. There's so many marriages having these issues, and you're like, okay, well, it's something that, boys will be boys. Well, guess what? Do you want your sons to have bad marriages because they're out there watching pornography? Because I'm not saying they're going to contract it from their dad, but it has been shown in clinical surveys and studies that if the man watches pornography, that most likely so will the sons.
Yeah. And we can link some of those statistics and stuff, but it's factual evidence, and it's not just based off of religion. It's also, there's entire websites out there who put this data out there without religion even involved. And so to wrap this up, the entire point is here that we get these comments where people are condemning basically us for sharing this information, or condemning me for sharing about my husband, even though he knows, he clearly knows I'm talking about this. But the point is, we want you, if you are watching this and you are someone who's struggling with this, to know you are not alone. You don't have to feel shame for talking about this. If you are someone who has tried to share this with others and you've been condemned, or you've been told that this is not a big deal, or that you should get over it. And, that especially as the wife who is struggling with your own, heartache and feelings of anger and betrayal, you could easily be told by someone, get over it. What's wrong with you? Just let them do it. I mean, that's a whole nother comment that we can get into that I get all the time about you should just let them.
Well, just to go to Sierra's point real fast.
Yeah.
She's had, in her, in our marriage, there have been people who've told her that boys will be boys, men will be men, in regards to pornography use.
Yeah, so
the point is that
it's getting long.
You as a wife, or you as a husband, if you've been told that, and you're not feeling that that's correct, you're just I just can't get over that this is what's happening in my marriage. Mm-hmm. That's what we're here for. That's what we are trying to help with.
Yes, so feel free to reach out to us. You can send us a message, you can send us an email, you can go to our website at renewed-marriage.com. We want to be here for you, we care about you, and we would love to connect with you.